the ecosystem, learning and understanding it, and then also for our people is understanding water, because the watersheds play a vital role in all of us living in a really healthy way. If those are compromised, all of us are compromised. So we, as a whole, have a lot of work to do.
My name is Captain Josh Temple, and I'm the Executive Director of Coastal Restoration Society. Our organization really works to support environmental stewardship goals of First Nations, provincial, and federal governments. We've been really excited to engage in the co-op program through the University of Victoria because I think it's really creating pathways for students to enter into a career in support of Canada's blue economy sector.
Tansei Kiwau, Hannah Gentis Dishinikashin. Hello, my name is Hannah Gentis, and I am here today to talk about my experience as a co-op student and getting into the work sphere through work integrated learning as an Indigenous student specifically. So I started working with Coastal Restoration Society through a co-op term. And I started off just in project development, and I was meant to be a field technician, and I quickly grew. I think the reason I quickly grew is because of the organization itself and their values. Throughout my time working for Coastal Restoration Society, I've recognized that probably the best way to build your team is building it based off of values rather than skill. So in my interview, Josh didn't really ask me much about my experience. He did, of course, in an interview, but it was mostly just getting to know who I was as a person and what my passions were, what my values were, to see if I fit. And I think that that's how everyone has been hired for Coastal Restoration Society, and that's how we've been such a great team, because we all share the same values.
Hannah Gentis has been just a real standout performer in this program for us, and she's really become an ambassador, helping to bring the awareness of the initiatives that we're running here at Coastal Restoration Society and bringing in other Indigenous students from the university to participate in these pathways towards Canada's blue economy.
So what's really exciting is that there's now another Indigenous student who has been hired through work integrated learning. They were hired through the Indigenous mock interview clinic. I used to help lead those, which is really fun to see that, and it's really exciting seeing them just start off in like their first entry-level job, but being in this place that has the same values as them.
My name is Anakin Bennett, and I just finished my first year at UVic for Biology and Environmental Studies, and I'm working with Coastal Restoration Society this year on the BC flood response. I got hired through the mock interview clinic. Having a passion for biology, it's been really cool to work with this company because I've really seen the intersection of where Indigenous knowledge is really being put on the forefront alongside like traditional sciences, and how there is a lot of overlap where if we just take the time to have the conversation with people, we do already know kind of the best practices needed to take care of an environment because people have been living there for time immemorial.
My name's Gordon Planis. My traditional name is Hayakwacha. I'm named after my great-grandfather from Chianoch, the Salmon people. I'm elected chief here in Sauk for the last 14 years plus. And I live in the village of Siosin, overlooking the northern straits of the Salish Sea. And Siosin in our language means the sounds the pebbles make when they're being washed up on our shores. So it's a really special village. It's a good place for teaching our children. Our teachings come from the territory. It comes from our elders. It comes from the wildlife. It comes from the sea. And I think if we stay within those Coast Salish laws of our people, we'll be all right. And then we'll share those laws with others. And we can incorporate Western science and traditional knowledge in a way that works for us. And that is that we've had laws before there was even a Canada. And we still have those laws. And if everyone learns from those laws, we'll probably look at more of an enhancement of the territory instead of resource extraction. We don't have a choice. We did a big part of that resource extraction. How do we heal Mother Earth now? Like to ensure that in the future, the 7 generations, is there going to be resources for them?
You know, when we first started working with Indigenous people and students and governments, obviously as a non-Indigenous organization, there was a pretty steep learning curve. I mean, we have a tendency as you know, colonialists to want to do things very quickly, to want to do things in a very sterile way. We don't really want to talk about culture or about histories. We just want to kind of focus on the day-to-day and move now, now, now. You know, what I've come to understand by working with our Indigenous partners over the years is that there's huge merit in slowing down, in listening to the lands, in not being in such a hurry, you know, in learning the histories and the cultural and even the spiritual aspects of some of the things that we do. And that there's a way that we can collaborate some of the more Western approaches with those traditional Indigenous values.
Because this industry is growing, like Josh was mentioning before, like there isn't a monetary output. So I think being able to have these spaces that there is no extraction, it's just building relationships on the land with each other, like that is the most important thing for me, and that's what I want to see in the future. I guess if I were to give some advice to a student who is trying to find their way through co-op and just into the work sphere, I guess the first thing I would say is don't be upset that you don't know who you are yet or you don't know what you want to do yet, right? I mean, I think it's so normal and we're expected to know exactly what we want to do when we're entering university, but that's what university is for, right? Is to help us find our way. And when you are looking for employers, I think the super important thing to do is to stay true to yourself and focus on those values within yourself and what you're passionate about and communicating that to your employer. And if they're not someone that you see yourself working with, then that's equally as important, right? Like,
we've attended like ceremonies with local nations, which have been really like incredible to feel that like this company that I'm working for like values taking time out of our day to respect traditions and honor the place that we're being. And that like in order to do work there, you have to consult with like local nations to make sure that we're being respectful of the place that we're treading.
I guess I have a few examples of how CRS makes me feel culturally supported in our day-to-day work. It's little things that are actually big things, like them checking in with me on like Indigenous Peoples Day or Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Day, or when the 215 were discovered, saying, "Hey, Hannah, how are you doing? Do you want to take the day off? Like, we'll pay for you to take the day off and take care of yourself." And I don't know if all employers know how to do that. Those little things, like ensuring that Indigenous students and all people have the space to take care of themselves.
So now as the world changes, we as Indigenous people need to change, but everyone in all these communities have to change as well, all at the same time. So you're looking at 2 different kind of relationships. Number one is the community relationship with our neighbors, and the other one is the ones that you need that capacity to help you take care of your territory. And I think what has transpired and happened over the last 20 years is I've seen that change. I've seen how the world is changing, and we're all watching it change, and we're adapting to that kind of change in a way that makes sense for us, and that is building those relationships, building those partnerships, doing it in a way that you that are respectful with protocols and First Nations laws, and also looking at ways of bringing everyone together like Natsamat. all is one. So there's still a lot of work to be done, but I just seen the opportunities that have brought themselves to us is every year we build. And we're not going to stop building. It's going to be building all the time until our children take over that work.
You know, when we started out in this space and we were trying to figure out how we were going to meaningfully engage with Indigenous peoples, I think that there was a lot of tentativeness on getting it right. You know, how do we get this right? You know, do we set up systems and frameworks where, you know, we're treating Indigenous people differently than non-Indigenous peoples? And one of our colleagues who is Indigenous, happens to be Indigenous, said to us, well, no, you know, you just treat people as people. You know, anything else is just racism. That really resonated for us because it's like, you know, you're right. We don't really need anything special for Indigenous peoples. We just need to treat everybody equally. And that's something that we've really carried forward in trying to create this ethos in our society is that, you know, certainly we want to provide opportunities to Indigenous peoples first, because as the original stewards and inhabitants of these lands, that is part of the respect and uplifting that we need to provide to.
I think one of the biggest messages that I would like to put across to anyone that is wanting to engage in meaningful reconciliation is truly like not to worry about saying the wrong thing, but just showing up is the biggest thing you can do. Just showing up and being present and showing that you're here to learn. After that, the mistakes are just little, right? They're just like nothing in the wind gone, like, because if you're there, that's the most important. I guess like speaking to the institution itself and the community that I have with the First Peoples House, something I've noticed is that people are really scared and they don't want to make a mistake and they don't want to approach and build those relationships. And I totally understand where that comes from, and I've had it too.
I think one of the most important aspects of working with universities like the University of Victoria is that we're tapping into that youth demographic. And as we're building this blue economy for the long term, we have to do it from the ground up. You know, and there's so much enthusiasm and energy and youth coming out of these types of programs and these universities. And it's almost like a clean slate, you know, where you can tap into this energy and enthusiasm and this willingness to get into these sectors.
Everyone working in the First Peoples House and UVic co-op, I think it comes down to like actually making real relationships with the students, knowing what their passions are, knowing what their interests are, and then when opportunities come up, be like, hey Hannah, I know you're interested in this, why don't you get in it?
Coming to like the First Peoples House, like you'll always be welcomed by someone, and it's just a really incredible community where like you feel like that comfort to step out of your space and say, you know what, like I've never done this before, but like I'm going to give it a try because that sounds really exciting. And it was a really awesome opportunity for me that I'm really thankful that I got to do.
So as an employer who's looking to create more opportunities for co-op students in this pathway, it's absolutely critical to be able to rely on the support services that University of Victoria and the WIL Resource Hub provide. It's so essential to be able to create that network of support for students and employers. So relying on the services that the University of Victoria and the WIL Resource Hub provide just makes creating that pathway all that much easier for employers like us. I think from the perspective of a non-Indigenous organization and as an employer of a lot of Indigenous people across the many initiatives that we run, the message I'd like to send to others who might be interested in getting into this space and providing opportunities to both Indigenous and non-Indigenous youths coming out of these types of co-op programs is don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to take chances. You know, we're not going to get it right all the time, but I think if you endeavor to provide these opportunities, then somehow organically you're going to arrive at a place where you're not only creating pathways for employment into these types of sectors, you're building relationships and bridges over the gaps between non-Indigenous and Indigenous communities. And I think as we move forward into a future where reconciliation isn't just a catchphrase, that taking those chances and creating those opportunities to bring people together is an absolutely critical component about building this mutual future in Canada's blue economy.
I can't explain how grateful I feel every day for being a part of an organization that treats me like family and always is asking me, what do you want to do in this work? Like, is this something you want to do? What are you passionate about? Where do you see yourself? Having employers that check in with you all the time is so incredibly important.